Tonight let's slip quietly into the world of Victorian London, where the day begins not with the gentle hum of modern life, but with the cold hush of a city wrapped in coal smoke and secrets. Imagine you're waking up in a narrow iron bed, the mattress beneath you stuffed with horsehair. Prickly, lumpy, nothing like the memory foam you're used to. The room is chilly, the kind of chill that seeps into your bones and makes you pull the flannel nightgown tighter around your neck. Victorian modesty means every inch of skin is covered, even in sleep. God forbid anyone should glimpse your wrist or the curve of your neck. Scandal lurks in the smallest details. The fire in the grate has burned down to embers, casting faint shadows across the bulky wardrobe, the washstand with its ceramic basin, and the little dressing table with a cloudy mirror. You listen for a moment, letting the sounds of London drift in through the window, iron-rimmed carriage wheels clattering over cobblestones, a dog barking somewhere down the street, the distant shouts of a milkman. But mostly you notice the air, thick with coal smoke, always coal smoke, creeping under doors and through every crack in the window frame. Mixed with it is the faint, sharp scent of bergamot oil from the perfume bottle on your dressing table. A small luxury in a world that frowns on excess. You reach for the bell beside your bed and give it a gentle ring. Almost immediately footsteps echo on the stairs. Your maid, Mary, appears at the door, already dressed in her neat uniform, hair pulled back in a severe bun. "Good morning, miss," she says, dipping into a small curtsy. "Shall I draw the curtains?" Before you can answer, she's pulling back the heavy velvet drapes, letting in the weak grey daylight of London. The glass is smeared with soot, a reminder of the thousands of chimneys belching smoke into the sky. Mary moves to the wardrobe, opening it to reveal a row of dresses, each more elaborate than the last. "What would you like to wear today, miss?" she asks. But you know the choice is more ritual than freedom. Every detail of your appearance is dictated by the invisible rulebook of Victorian society. The day's first lesson, propriety, begins before you even leave your room. You sit up, feeling the weight of the world, or at least the weight of expectation, settle on your shoulders. The sheets are cotton, not soft, but clean. The floorboards creak as Mary lays out your undergarments, the chemise, the petticoats. You know what's coming, the tight lacing, the layers of fabric, the transformation from a sleepy young woman into a proper Victorian lady. Outside, the city stirs, but inside, your day begins with ritual, restraint, and the ever-present chill of a world obsessed with appearances. As you prepare to rise, you catch your reflection in the mirror. A pale face framed by the dim light, eyes wide with anticipation and a hint of dread. Today, like every day, you'll step into a world where every action is watched, every word measured, and every moment shaped by the relentless rules of Victorian life. Mary's hands are deft and practiced as she moves about the chilly room, her footsteps muffled by the faded rug. She draws back the curtains, and the pale London daylight creeps in, illuminating the dust motes that swirl in the air. The window glass is streaked with soot, a testament to the city's endless appetite for coal. You shiver, pulling your nightgown closer, and watch as Mary tidies the room with quiet efficiency, straightening the sheets, smoothing the coverlet, setting your slippers neatly by the bed. Outside, the city is already awake. The clatter of carriage wheels on cobblestones echoes up from the street below, mingling with the distant calls of vendors hawking bread and milk. Somewhere, a dog barks, its voice sharp against the morning hush. The air is thick with the familiar scent of coal smoke, but beneath it, you catch the faint citrus of bergamot oil lingering from last night, a small comfort in a world that rarely indulges softness. Mary moves to the wardrobe, her fingers lingering over the array of dresses. Each one is a statement, a shield against the judgment of society. "Will you wear the blue day dress, miss?" she asks, her voice gentle but expectant. You nod, knowing that the choice is less about personal preference and more about signalling your place in the world. The deep blue fabric is respectable, modest, and just fashionable enough to avoid gossip. The ritual of dressing begins. First the chemise, a long plain cotton slip that shields your skin from the scratchy layers to come. Then the corset, stiff and unyielding, is wrapped around your waist. Mary pulls the laces tighter and tighter until your breath comes shivering. You remember your mother's words. A proper Victorian lady must have a waist you can span with your hands. Fashion is suffering, but suffering is expected. Next come the petticoats, 3 in all, each adding bulk and weight to your lower half. Then the crinoline, a cage of steel hoops that transforms your silhouette into the bell-shaped ideal of the age. The blue dress is lowered over your head, its bodice snug, its skirt enormous. By the time Mary fastens the last button, you are swaddled in nearly 15 pounds of fabric, your movements restricted, your posture dictated by the architecture of your clothing. Mary arranges your hair, pulling it back from your face and twisting it into a neat bun at the nape of your neck. No stray hairs are permitted. Every strand must be controlled, every detail perfect. She holds up gloves and mittens, and you choose gloves, remembering that bare hands in public are unthinkable. Modesty, even in the smallest gestures. As you stand, fully dressed, you feel the transformation complete. The sleepy girl in the mirror has vanished, replaced by a figure sculpted by rules and expectations. The city outside hums with life, but inside you are ready to step into the day, a day shaped by ritual, restraint, and the ever-watchful eyes of Victorian society. Breakfast in the Wilson household is a ceremony unto itself, a quiet performance of roles and expectations. You descend the narrow staircase, the weight of your dress and crinoline making each step deliberate, careful. The house is coming alive around you. Servants scurry in the hall, the cook's voice drifts from the kitchen, and the faint clink of silver signals the table is being set. The air is thick with the mingled scents of coal smoke, toast, and bacon, a peculiar blend that somehow feels comforting. You enter the dining room, where your father sits at the head of the table, newspaper held like a shield between himself and the world. Your mother is at the opposite end, already writing correspondence, her pen scratching steadily across the page. Both are impeccably dressed, as if even the privacy of family breakfast demands a certain dignity. You greet them with a soft, "Good morning," and take your seat, arranging your skirts with practiced care. Your father lowers his newspaper just enough to nod, then raises it again, retreating behind the printed words. Victorian families are not given to displays of affection. No hugs, no kisses, not even a squeeze of the hand. Warmth is measured in glances and the careful exchange of pleasantries. You learn to read the subtle language of nods and smiles, the way your mother's eyes linger on you for a moment before returning to her letters. Breakfast itself is substantial. Eggs, bacon, kidneys, toast, porridge, laid out in abundance. It is the largest meal of the day, meant to fortify you for the hours ahead. Yet the corset constricts your appetite, forcing you to take small ladylike bites. You chew slowly, mindful of posture and manners, never allowing yourself to eat heartily, even if hunger gnaws at your stomach. Conversation is gentle, restrained. Your mother reminds you to congratulate Mrs. Hartley's daughter on her engagement, but cautions against asking any details about the wedding. Curiosity is vulgar, she says, and you nod, absorbing another unwritten rule. You must acknowledge important events, but never appear too interested. The invisible code of Victorian society governs even the simplest exchanges. After breakfast, you have a few hours before your morning call. You choose to work on your needlepoint, a suitably feminine pursuit. Idle hands are the devil's workshop after all, and a proper Victorian lady is never idle. You settle by the window in the drawing room, sunlight filtering through the soot-streaked glass, and begin stitching a pattern of flowers onto linen. Your mother joins you, taking up her own needlework, and the two of you sit in companionable silence, the rhythm of your needles a quiet counterpoint to the distant sounds of the city. It is in these moments, between the rituals of dressing and the formalities of breakfast, that you feel the weight of Victorian social rules most keenly. Every gesture, every word, every glance is shaped by expectation. Yet there is comfort, too, in the predictability of it all. You know your place, your duties, and the boundaries that keep the world in order. As you stitch, you wonder what the day will bring, and whether you will navigate its rules with the grace your family expects. The hours slip by in gentle routine, the quiet click of your needle and the soft murmur of your mother's voice blending with the distant sounds of London. At precisely 11:15, you set aside your embroidery, smoothing the linen with a sense of accomplishment. It's time for your morning call, a ritual as precise as the ticking of the clock on the mantel. You rise, don your bonnet and gloves, and wrap yourself in a cloak, the layers of your dress rustling softly as you move. Your mother joins you, her own attire immaculate, her posture straight and composed. Together you step out into the grey London morning, the city's familiar chill biting at your cheeks. The walk to Mrs. Hartley's house is not far, but every step is measured, every movement deliberate. Victorian ladies do not hurry. Haste is unseemly. You adopt the proper pace, small steps, back straight, eyes modestly downcast. Your enormous skirt swings with each stride, occasionally threatening to brush against passers-by or startle a stray dog. The street is alive with the rituals of daily life. Men tip their hats as you pass, and you acknowledge them with the slightest nod, careful never to make direct eye contact with strangers. A gentleman would never speak to a lady he hasn't been formally introduced to, and you would certainly never address a strange gentleman. The rules are invisible but ever present, guiding every interaction. You arrive at Mrs. Hartley's house at exactly 11 o'clock. Punctuality is crucial. Being early or late would suggest you have too few engagements to fill your day, a subtle embarrassment in this world of constant social activity. The butler answers the door, his manner formal and reserved. You hand him your visiting cards, one for yourself, one for your mother, presented on a small silver tray. He leads you into the drawing room, where Mrs. Hartley and her daughter Charlotte await. The greeting is a ballet of curtsies and polite words. No hugs, no kisses, no physical contact beyond the briefest touch of gloved hands. You arrange yourself carefully on a small sofa, mindful of your crinoline's steel cage. Sitting gracefully is an art, requiring balance and poise. Choreographed. Your mother offers congratulations on Charlotte's engagement, and Charlotte blushes appropriately, her eyes downcast. Details are scarce. Victorians do not pry. You learn only that Mr. Edwards is very kind, and that is enough. The discussion shifts to safe topics. The weather, recent sermons at church, a musical performance you all attended. Everything is described in moderate terms. Strong opinions are reserved for the lower classes. You listen, contribute when appropriate, and maintain the careful composure expected of you. After exactly 15 minutes, your mother gives a subtle nod. The call is complete. You stand, exchange farewells, and curtsy once more before stepping back into the street. The morning call has been a success, another small victory in the daily dance of Victorian propriety. As you walk home, your mother remarks that Charlotte looked well, and you agree, knowing that in this world, well is the highest praise one can offer. Back at home, the familiar hush of the drawing room welcomes you, a gentle buffer against the bustle of London outside. You remove your bonnet and gloves, placing them carefully in the hall, and settle into the rhythm of the afternoon. The morning call has left you relieved and slightly tense, a reminder that every interaction is a test, every word weighed and measured. Lunch is a light affair, taken with your mother in the sunlit dining room. The conversation is pleasant but restrained, touching on the day's engagements and the latest news from acquaintances. You eat slowly, mindful of the corset's unyielding grip, and sip tea as your mother discusses the importance of maintaining a calm and orderly household. The meal is over quickly, and you excuse yourself to the drawing room once more. Here, the hours stretch out in quiet expectation. You select an improving book from the shelf, a biography of a respected statesman, chosen for its moral lessons rather than its entertainment value. Novels that stir the emotions are considered dangerous for ladies. Your reading must be edifying, never exciting. You settle into a high-backed chair, the sunlight filtering through soot-streaked glass, and begin to read, your mind wandering between the lines. After a chapter or two, you set the book aside and move to the piano. Practice is essential, but must be approached with restraint. You play for exactly 1 hour, choosing pieces that are technically challenging but not overly passionate. Your fingers move with precision, your posture perfect, your expression composed. Music is a suitable accomplishment for a Victorian lady, but ambition is frowned upon. You must never appear too eager, too talented, or too emotional. When your practice is finished, you return to your needlework. The linen is soft beneath your fingers, the pattern of flowers slowly taking shape. Your mother joins you, her own embroidery progressing in quiet tandem. The two of you sit together, the silence, the occasional comment about a neighbour's engagement, or the quality of the silk thread. These moments are peaceful, yet always tinged with the awareness of propriety. Even in private, you are never truly free from the rules that shape your world. As the afternoon ends, you have tea with your cousin Emily. The ritual is less formal than the morning call, but still governed by the same invisible code. You greet Emily with measured warmth, discuss safe topics, and avoid anything that might be considered gossip. The conversation flows gently, never straying into dangerous territory. When Emily departs, the house grows quiet once more. You glance at the clock, noting the time for dinner and the need to change into a slightly more elaborate dress. The day is a series of transitions, each marked by a change of clothing, a shift in posture, a new set of expectations. Through it all, you maintain the composure and restraint demanded by Victorian society, finding comfort in the predictability of its rules, even as you long for a moment of genuine freedom. As the afternoon light fades, you prepare for your daily walk with your mother, a ritual as much about being seen as about exercise. Victorian ladies do not stroll alone. Propriety demands a companion, and your mother is the perfect chaperone. You change into a walking dress, its fabric heavier and more practical than your evening attire, but still carefully chosen for modesty and style. A matching bonnet is pinned securely to your hair, and gloves are drawn over your hands, concealing every inch of skin. The city outside is alive with the muted energy of Londoners going about their business. The air is brisk, tinged with the ever-present scent of coal smoke and the distant promise of rain. You step out together, your mother's arm linked with yours, and begin the slow, measured walk along the tree-lined avenue. The pace is deliberate, small steps, back straight, eyes modestly lowered. To hurry would be unladylike, to dawdle would be idle. You move in harmony with the rhythm of Victorian society, every gesture a reflection of its rules. As you walk, you pass other ladies and their companions, each group engaged in the same silent performance. Gentlemen tip their hats as they approach, and you respond with the faintest nod, careful never to meet their gaze directly. The rules are clear. A lady does not speak to a gentleman unless formally introduced, and even then conversation is measured and polite. The boundaries between public and private are rigid, enforced by statute. Your mother offers quiet commentary as you stroll, pointing out the latest fashions in passing carriages, remarking on the state of the gardens, and sharing news of acquaintances. Her tone is gentle, her words chosen with care. She reminds you to maintain your posture, to keep your chin level and your shoulders back. Every detail matters. Even the way you walk is a reflection of your upbringing and your family's reputation. Children play in the park nearby, their laughter drifting on the breeze, but you and your mother remain apart, observers rather than participants. The world of Victorian womanhood is one of restraint, of watching and waiting, of moving through life with quiet dignity. You notice the glances of neighbours, the subtle appraisals of your dress and demeanour. In this society, every outing is an opportunity to reinforce your place, to demonstrate your adherence to the unspoken code. As the walk draws to a close, you return home, your cheeks tinged with the cold and the satisfaction of having performed your role well. The city continues its endless dance outside, but within the walls of your home you are safe, cocooned in the rituals and routines that define your days. You remove your gloves and bonnet, hang your cloak in the hall, and prepare for the evening ahead. Another chapter in the ongoing story of Victorian propriety, where every step is measured, every word considered, and every moment shaped by the rules that govern your world. Evening settles over the house in a gentle hush, the golden glow of gas lamps softening the edges of the drawing room. The day's rituals have left you with a sense of quiet accomplishment, but there is no true rest for a Victorian lady. Idleness is frowned upon, and so you turn once more to the pursuits deemed suitable for your station: needlework, music, and reading, each chosen with care and intention. You settle at the piano, the polished keys cool beneath your fingers. The hour of practice is not just habit but expectation. Your mother listens from her chair, her embroidery moving in time with the music. You select a piece by Mendelssohn, lyrical but restrained, careful never to let emotions spill over into your performance. A proper lady's talent is to be admired, but never flaunted. You play with measured grace, your posture perfect, your expression composed, a portrait of Victorian accomplishment. When your hour is complete, you close the piano gently and return to your needlework. The linen is soft and familiar, the pattern of flowers slowly blooming beneath your careful stitches. Your mother offers quiet praise, her own hands busy with a delicate border of lace. The two of you work in companionable silence, the rhythm of your needles a soothing counterpoint to the distant sounds of the city. These moments are peaceful, yet always tinged with the awareness that even leisure is governed by rules. Reading is permitted, but only certain books. You select a volume from the shelf, its cover plain and its contents improving. A biography of a respected statesman, chosen for its moral lessons rather than its entertainment value. Novels that stir the emotions are considered dangerous, their influence suspect. You read with quiet diligence, absorbing the lessons of duty and restraint, your mind wandering only briefly to more exciting stories you dare not pursue. As the evening progresses, your father and brother retire to the study for brandy and cigars, a ritual reserved for men. The drawing room belongs to the women, its atmosphere gentle and refined. You and your mother discuss the day's events, the latest news from acquaintances, and the preparations for upcoming social gatherings. The conversation is measured, never straying into gossip or controversy. Even in private, the boundaries of propriety are carefully maintained. By 10 o'clock, the household begins to wind down. Mary appears to help you undress, her hands gentle as she removes the layers of fabric and releases you from the tight embrace of your corset. You breathe deeply, savouring the freedom, however brief. She brushes out your hair, her quiet presence a comfort as you prepare for bed. The room grows dark, the fire banked low, and you slip beneath the cotton sheets, the day's rules and rituals settling around you like a familiar blanket. As you drift towards reflect on the quiet discipline of your life, the endless cycle of accomplishment and restraint, the comfort of routine, and the subtle hope that tomorrow might bring something new. Victorian society demands much, but within its boundaries you find moments of peace, small joys stitched into the fabric of each day. The next morning dawns with a pale, wintry sun barely piercing the London fog. You wake to the familiar sounds of Mary drawing back the curtains, her gentle voice announcing another busy day. As you sip the hot chocolate she brings to your bedside, your thoughts drift to the evening ahead. A formal dinner party at the Fairchild's house. The anticipation is both thrilling and daunting, for tonight you will see Thomas Fairchild again. The morning passes in a blur of preparation. Your mother insists you practice piano for 2 hours instead of 1, reminding you that the Fairchilds may request a performance. You select a piece that is beautiful but not ostentatious, rehearsing each phrase until your fingers move with quiet confidence. After lunch, you take a brisk walk in the park with your mother, the cold air biting at your cheeks. She offers gentle reminders about the rules of dinner parties, seating arrangements, conversation topics, the importance of never appearing surprised by your placement at the table. Back at home, Mary runs a bath for you, adding a few drops of rose oil to the water. The bathroom is chilly, but the ritual is soothing. You dress with care, choosing your finest evening gown, a pale blue silk with delicate lace trim, the neckline just low enough to be fashionable without courting scandal. Your hair is arranged in an elaborate style, small silk flowers pinned among the curls. A dusting of rice powder gives your complexion the fashionable pallor, but no rouge. Only actresses and women of questionable virtue wear obvious makeup. Your father arranges for a carriage, a mark of your family's prosperity. The ride through London's bustling streets is brief, but you feel every bump and jostle, your nerves taut with anticipation. Fairchild's townhouse glows with gaslight, the windows blazing against the evening gloom. A footman in livery opens the carriage door, helping you down with practised formality. Inside, the house is warm and bright, the entrance hall filled with the hum of polite conversation. The butler announces your family as you enter the drawing room, Mr. and Mrs. Wilson and Miss Jane Wilson. All heads turn, and you feel your cheeks warm as you make your curtsies to Mr. and Mrs. Fairchild. There, standing beside his mother, is Thomas. He bows perfectly, his voice deeper than you recall as he greets you. Compliments are exchanged, each word carefully chosen, every gesture measured. More guests arrive, filling the room with the soft murmur of conversation. You notice Charlotte Hartley and her fiancé, Mr. Edwards, standing a respectable distance apart, their engagement marked only by subtle glances. The rules of courtship are strict. No touching, no meaningful looks, only the quiet choreography of social expectation. As the evening unfolds, you find yourself watching Thomas, searching for signs beneath his composed exterior. Every glance, every word, every movement is part of the delicate dance of Victorian courtship, a game played in plain sight, yet hidden beneath layers of propriety. Tonight, you are both participants and observers, navigating the complex rituals that shape your world, hopeful that within them something genuine might begin to bloom. Dinner at the Fairchilds is a spectacle of order and elegance, every detail orchestrated to reflect the family's standing and the unspoken rules of Victorian society. The butler's announcement signals the transition from drawing room to dining room, and the guests form a procession, pairing off according to rank. Mr. Fairchild offers his arm to the highest-ranking female guest, while the hostess is escorted by the most distinguished gentleman. You find yourself paired with a middle-aged man whose name you barely caught, and together you follow the slow, dignified march into the candlelit dining room. The table gleams with polished silver and fine china, each place setting an intimidating array of utensils, fish forks, soup spoons, dessert knives, and more. You take your seat, careful to arrange your voluminous skirt so as not to disturb the delicate balance of the table. Thomas is seated several places away, his attention divided among the guests, but you catch his eye for a fleeting moment before turning to the gentleman on your right. Conversation at dinner is a careful dance. You speak primarily to those seated beside you, never across the table, and never too loudly. The topics are safe: recent theatrical performances, exhibitions at the Royal Academy, the weather, travels to respectable destinations. Politics, religion, and anything personal are strictly avoided. You listen attentively, offering gentle opinions when prompted, your words chosen for their moderation and grace. The meal unfolds in courses, each one accompanied by its own set of rituals. Soup is followed by fish, then meat, game, and finally dessert. You take small, delicate bites, mindful of your corset and the expectation that a lady never eats heartily, no matter how tempting the fare. The gentlemen discuss horses and art, the ladies offer praise for the cook's skill, and all the while, the undercurrent of social manoeuvring hums quietly beneath the surface. Across the table you notice Charlotte Hartley and Mr. Edwards, their engagement acknowledged only in the most subtle ways, a glance, a smile, a shared word. The rules of propriety are strict, and even those soon to be married must maintain a careful distance. You wonder if Thomas is watching you, and when your eyes meet he quickly looks away. his composure never faltering. After dessert, the most gendered ritual of the evening begins. Mrs. Fairchild catches the eye of the highest-ranking female guest and rises from her seat, signalling the ladies to withdraw to the drawing room. You follow, leaving the gentlemen to their port and cigars, their conversation shifting to business and politics, topics deemed unsuitable for delicate ears. In the drawing room, the women arrange themselves in small groups, discussing music, fashion, and upcoming social events. The atmosphere is gentle, the conversation measured, and you find yourself reflecting on the evening's choreography. Every gesture, every word, every glance has been shaped by the invisible rules that govern your world. As you wait for the gentleman to rejoin you, you wonder if beneath all the restraint something real might be growing between you and Thomas. A hope as delicate and carefully tended as the flowers embroidered on your linen. The drawing room fills with the gentle hum of conversation as the ladies settle into their chosen seats, the air fragrant with tea and the faint scent of rosewater. You arrange your skirts carefully, perching on the edge of a velvet sofa, your posture perfect, your hands folded in your lap. Mrs. Fairchild presides over the gathering with practiced grace, ensuring that every guest is comfortable and every conversation remains within the bounds of propriety. Soon the gentlemen rejoin the party, the scent of cigars lingering on their coats, their cheeks flushed from port. Thomas enters with measured steps, pausing to exchange pleasantries with several guests before making his way toward you. He moves with the quiet confidence of someone accustomed to these rituals, his expression composed, his eyes betraying only the slightest hint of anticipation. Mrs. Fairchild gestures to the pianoforte in the corner, her voice warm but firm. "Will you play for us, Miss Wilson?" she asks, and you know refusal is not an option. "If you wish it, Mrs. Fairchild," you reply, your tone modest, though your heart beats faster. You rise, smoothing your dress, and cross the room to the piano, arranging your voluminous skirts as best you can on the narrow bench. As you settle in, Thomas steps forward. "May I turn pages for you, Miss Wilson?" he asks, his voice low and steady. The offer is significant. Page turning is a small intimacy, a gesture that places him at your side, close enough to share the music, yet still within the bounds of you accept with a quiet nod, grateful for his presence. You begin to play, choosing a piece by Mozart, challenging enough to display your skill, but not so flamboyant as to seem showy. Your fingers move with practiced precision, your posture impeccable, your expression composed. Thomas stands beside you, turning pages at just the right moment, his attention focused, his presence reassuring. Once, his hand brushes yours as he reaches for the music, and the brief contact sends a thrill through you, though you never falter. When you finish, the applause is polite but genuine. You acknowledge the approval with a modest nod, then return to your seat, your hands trembling slightly. Thomas offers his hand to help you rise, another small liberty that does not go unnoticed by the watching crowd. "Beautifully played," he murmurs as you return to your seat. "Thank you for your assistance," you reply, your voice barely above a whisper. Mrs. Fairchild beams with pride. Mr. Fairchild gives Thomas an approving nod, and Emma Parker's expression tightens with envy. The courtship dance continues, each gesture and word carefully measured, each moment laden with meaning. In this world of restraint and ritual, even the smallest connection feels significant. A secret language spoken in glances and the brush of a hand, a promise that something genuine might blossom beneath the surface of Victorian propriety, The evening at the Fairchilds draws on, the drawing room alive with the gentle swirl of conversation and the soft strains of music lingering in the air. You find yourself among a cluster of young ladies, each dressed in their finest, their eyes bright with anticipation and subtle rivalry. Emma Parker stands nearby, her green silk gown remarkably similar to yours, though not as finely made. She offers you a tight smile, her words carefully chosen. "What a coincidence, Miss Wilson. We appear to have had the same thought regarding colour." You return her smile with equal restraint, understanding the unspoken competition that simmers beneath the surface. In Victorian London, eligible bachelors are few, and Thomas Fairchild is among the most sought after. Every glance, every gesture, every detail of dress and demeanour is calculated, a silent contest for his attention. The other young ladies join in, their compliments edged with rivalry, their laughter just a shade too bright. Thomas circulates among the guests, his manner impeccable, his attention distributed with diplomatic care. He exchanges polite words with Emma, listens to Sarah's observations about the musical performance, and offers a compliment to Charlotte Hartley on her recent engagement. Yet, you notice his gaze returning to you, lingering just a moment longer than propriety demands before moving on. Each interaction is a move in the delicate game of courtship, every word weighed, every glance measured. Refreshments are served, and Thomas manages to bring you a cup of punch, his gesture subtle but unmistakable. He does not linger, aware that too much attention would be remarked upon, but the act itself is noted by the watching crowd. Emma's eyes narrow, and Sarah leans in to whisper something behind her fan. The competition is fierce, and alliances shift with every passing moment. You navigate the social currents with practiced grace, offering compliments where required, deflecting pointed remarks with gentle humour. The conversation turns to upcoming events, the musical evening Mrs. Fairchild is planning, the art exhibition at the Royal Academy, the latest fashions from Paris. Each topic is an opportunity to display wit and accomplishment, to demonstrate your suitability as a potential match. Throughout the evening you remain aware of the subtle tension that threads through every interaction. The rivalry is never spoken aloud, but it shapes the atmosphere, colouring every word and gesture. You sense Emma's determination, Sarah's quiet ambition, Charlotte's contentment in her engagement, and beneath it all, your own hope that Thomas's attention is genuine, that the connection you feel is more than just another move in the social dance. As the evening draws to a close, you reflect on the complexity of Victorian courtship, the competition, the restraint, the endless negotiation of appearances and intentions. In this world, every moment is a test, every encounter a step in the intricate ballet of reputation and desire. You leave the Fairchild's house with your composure intact, your heart quietly hopeful, and the knowledge that the dance will continue, its outcome uncertain, its stakes higher than ever. The days that follow are a blur of engagements and anticipation, each social encounter a careful step in the ongoing dance of Victorian courtship. The musical evening at the Fairchilds has left its mark, your name whispered among acquaintances, your performance praised in polite circles, and Thomas's subtle attentions noted by every watchful eye. Yet, beneath the surface of routine, something new begins to stir. One morning, as you sit in the front parlour, half-heartedly turning the pages of an improving book, Mary appears at the door, her expression tinged with excitement. "Mr. Thomas Fairchild is here, miss," she announces. "He's asking if you and your mother are receiving visitors." Your heart leaps, but you school your features into calm composure, the practiced mask of a proper Victorian lady. "Please tell him we are, Mary, and inform my mother," you reply, your voice steady. You have only moments to prepare. You check your hair in the small mirror above the fireplace, straighten your posture, and arrange yourself with your book, feigning casual occupation. The door opens and Thomas enters, looking even more handsome in the daylight. His morning clothes are immaculate: dark coat, perfectly tied cravat, polished boots. He bows, his voice warm but reserved. "Miss Wilson, I hope I find you well today." "Quite well, thank you, Mr. Fairchild," you reply, gesturing to a chair. "My mother will join us momentarily." Thomas sits, removing his gloves and placing them inside his hat. A small gesture of comfort in a world of constant formality. You exchange pleasantries, your words measured, your tone polite. He compliments your musical performance, and you thank him with modest restraint. Before you can say more, your mother enters, and Thomas immediately rises, greeting her with the respect expected of a gentleman. The conversation shifts to the purpose of his visit. Thomas has come to extend an invitation. His mother is hosting another musical evening next Tuesday, and hopes you and your family will attend. He delivers the message with careful formality, but the fact that he came personally, rather than sending a servant, speaks volumes. Your mother accepts graciously, and Thomas's eyes flicker to you, a hint of genuine pleasure breaking through his composed exterior. "My mother also mentioned she would be grateful if Miss Wilson might consider performing," Thomas adds, his compliment bordering on the scandalous in Victorian terms. You reply with modesty, deflecting praise, but your mother steps in, expressing gratitude for the opportunity. The conversation continues, touching on mutual acquaintances and upcoming events. Thomas careful to address most remarks to your mother, only occasionally glancing at you. After exactly 15 minutes, the prescribed length for a morning call, Thomas stands, bowing to both you and your mother. "I'll convey your acceptance to my mother. She'll be most pleased." As he leaves, his eyes linger on you for just a moment longer than propriety allows, a silent promise hidden in the careful choreography of Victorian courtship. When the door closes behind him, your mother turns to you with a satisfied expression. "Well," she says, "it seems the Fairchilds have taken an interest in you." You try to look only mildly pleased, but inside hope blooms, quiet, restrained, and full of possibility. The days slip by in a gentle whirl of anticipation and routine, each one marked by the subtle progression of your courtship with Thomas Fairchild. The invitation to the musical evening has set the tone. Your family and his now orbit each other in a series of carefully orchestrated encounters, each one chaperoned, each one governed by the invisible rules of Victorian society. Your mother is vigilant, ensuring that every meeting is proper, every conversation measured. You take walks in the park, your mother trailing discreetly behind as you and Thomas stroll along the gravel paths. The air is brisk, the trees bare, and the city's ever-present fog softens the edges of the world. Thomas speaks of art and literature, his words chosen with care, his glances lingering just a moment longer than etiquette allows. You respond with gentle wit, your laughter quiet, your admiration hidden beneath layers of restraint. Afternoon calls become a regular occurrence. Thomas arrives precisely on time, never early, never late. He is always impeccably dressed, his manners flawless. Your father greets him with polite warmth, your brother with a hint of teasing. The conversation flows easily, touching on music, exhibitions, and the latest news from Oxford. Thomas is careful to address your parents, but his eyes often find yours, a silent conversation passing between you in the spaces between words. At social gatherings, you and Thomas are paired together more frequently. At dinner parties, you find yourselves seated side by side, your hands almost touching on the tablecloth. At musical evenings, he offers to turn pages for you at the piano, his presence a quiet reassurance. The other young ladies watch with keen interest, their smiles polite but their eyes sharp. The competition for Thomas's attention is fierce, but his focus remains on you, his gestures subtle but unmistakable. Letters are exchanged, each one a masterpiece of restraint. Victorian propriety dictates that correspondence between unmarried couples must be carefully worded, never too familiar, never too revealing. Yet within the boundaries of formality, you and Thomas share glimpses of your true selves, your hopes, your dreams, your quiet longing for something more than the roles you're expected to play. Your families begin to discuss practical matters. Your mother consults with Mrs. Fairchild about suitable dates for future gatherings. Your father and Mr. Fairchild speak in low tones about business and reputation. The possibility of an engagement hovers in the air, unspoken but understood by all. Your trousseau is mentioned, your wardrobe considered, your future mapped out in careful detail. Through it all, you and Thomas navigate the delicate choreography of Victorian courtship, a dance of glances, gestures, and words, each one laden with meaning. You are never alone, never free to speak openly, but within the constraints of propriety, a genuine affection begins to blossom. The world outside is cold and rigid, but inside hope grows, quiet, steady, and full of promise. The rhythm of your days continues, each one a measured step in the intricate dance of Victorian courtship. Yet, even within the safety of routine, the world can shift unexpectedly. One afternoon, Thomas calls to escort you and your mother to an exhibition at the Royal Academy, a respectable outing carefully planned and chaperoned. You dress with care, choosing a walking outfit in deep burgundy wool, your bonnet pinned securely, gloves drawn over your hands. Your mother's presence is a constant reassurance, her eyes watchful but kind. The carriage ride through London is filled with polite conversation, Thomas pointing out landmarks and sharing observations about the city's art and architecture. His compliments are directed as much to your mother as to you, each word chosen for its propriety. At the Academy, the galleries are crowded with fashionable people, their voices a gentle hum beneath the high ceilings. You move through the rooms, admiring landscapes and portraits, your mother always nearby, Thomas never straying too far from your side. It is in the tea room, as you pause for refreshments, that the atmosphere subtly shifts. A gentleman at a nearby table watches your group with a calculating gaze, middle-aged, expensively dressed, his expression unreadable. You mention your discomfort quietly to Thomas, who glances in the man's direction, his face darkening. "Ah, Lord Barrington," he says, his tone perfectly polite but noticeably cooler. Your mother's expression tightens, and she explains in delicate terms that Lord Barrington is not received at the best houses, his reputation regarding young ladies less than honourable. As you prepare to leave, Lord Barrington rises and approaches, his bow just a shade too familiar. "Fairchild," he greets Thomas, then turns to your mother and finally to you. and this must be the lovely Miss Wilson I've heard so much about. His eyes linger on you, and you feel a chill that has nothing to do with the weather. Tom steps slightly in front of you, a subtle but unmistakable gesture of protection. Your mother handles the introduction with perfect Victorian diplomacy, offering a polite rebuff and making it clear that you are just leaving. Lord Barrington's smile tightens, but he cannot press the issue without appearing rude. As you move away, Thomas positions himself between you and the gentleman, his body language protective without being improper. Once you're safely in another gallery, he apologizes quietly to your mother for the encounter. Had I known Lord Barrington would be present, I would have suggested a different outing. Your mother assures him that he could not have known, expressing gratitude for his quick thinking. The rest of the exhibition passes without incident, but you notice Thomas is more attentive than ever, staying close by your side, his presence a quiet shield against the uncertainties of society. It is rather nice, you think, to be protected, even if the threat is merely social rather than physical. The carriage returns you home, and as Thomas helps you down, he bows formally, his eyes meeting yours with a warmth that promises safety and respect. In a world governed by reputation and restraint, even the smallest gesture of care can mean everything. The next morning arrives with a sense of anticipation so keen it seems to hum in the very air. You dress with extra care, choosing a morning dress of pale blue. Thomas once mentioned he admired the colour. Mary arranges your hair in a style that softens your features while still appearing properly restrained. Your father works from home, an unusual occurrence that confirms what everyone suspects. Today, Thomas Fairchild will call to speak with him. Lunch is a tense affair. No one mentions Thomas's impending visit, but it hangs in the air, making ordinary conversation difficult. Your mother discusses menu plans with the housekeeper, your father reads his newspaper, and you push food around your plate, too nervous to eat. At precisely 5 minutes to 3, you retreat to the drawing room with your mother. Victorian propriety dictates that you should appear calm and occupied when Thomas arrives, not waiting eagerly by the door. You pick up your needlework, though your hands are too unsteady for fine stitches. The clock strikes 3. The doorbell rings. You hear the butler's measured footsteps, the murmur of voices in the hall. Then Thomas is shown not to the drawing room where you wait, but to your father's study. This confirms it. He's here to ask permission to court you officially. Now comes the hardest part. Waiting. A proper Victorian lady doesn't hover outside doors or eavesdrop on private conversations, no matter how desperately she wants to know what's being said. You must sit quietly with your needlework, pretending that your entire future isn't being decided one room away. 10 minutes pass. 15. Your stitches grow more and more uneven. Your mother gives up the pretense of reading and simply watches the clock. Finally, after what seems like hours but is probably only 20 minutes, the study door opens. You hear your father's voice, then Thomas's. Footsteps approach the drawing room. Your father enters first, his expression unreadable. Thomas follows, looking uncharacteristically nervous despite his impeccable appearance. "My dear," your father says to your mother, "Mr. Fairchild has something he wishes to discuss with Jane. Perhaps we might give them a few moments." Your mother raises an eyebrow. This is highly irregular. Unmarried couples are never left alone together, even in their own homes. But your father nods reassuringly, and your mother stands. "We'll be just in the morning room," she says, giving Thomas a pointed look that clearly communicates, behave honourably or face the consequences. And then, miraculously, impossibly, You're alone with Thomas Fairchild. Well, not completely alone. The drawing-room door remains open, and you know your parents are within earshot. But this is the most privacy Victorian propriety will allow. Thomas stands by the fireplace, looking more uncertain than you've ever seen him. His usual composed facade has slipped, revealing genuine emotion beneath. "Miss Wilson," he begins, then stops. "Jane," he corrects himself, using your given name for the first time. "I've spoken with your father and received his blessing to address you formally." Your heart pounds so loudly you wonder if he can hear it. This is it. The moment every Victorian young lady is raised to anticipate. Thomas takes a step closer, though still maintaining a respectable distance. "From our first meeting, I've been struck by your intelligence, your grace, your kind heart. These past weeks have only deepened my admiration and my affection." He pauses, seeming to gather his courage. "What I'm trying to say, rather poorly I'm afraid, is that I hold you in the highest esteem and regard. Jane Wilson, would you do me the very great honour of accepting my hand in marriage?" The words hang in the air, trembling with possibility. For a moment you are silent, overwhelmed by the enormity of what Thomas has asked. Victorian etiquette demands that a lady appear surprised by a proposal, even if she has anticipated it for weeks. Yet your reaction is not entirely performance. Emotion catches in your throat and you struggle to compose yourself. "Mr. Fairchild," you begin, then correct yourself. "Thomas, I am deeply honoured by your proposal." You pause, not to create suspense, but because your heart is pounding so fiercely it is difficult to speak. "Nothing would make me happier than to accept." Your voice is soft but steady, and as the words leave your lips you see Thomas's face transform. The careful reserve he maintains in public falls away, replaced by a joy so open it takes your breath. He steps forward, then stops, remembering propriety. Even now, engaged to be married, Victorian rules prevent any physical contact beyond perhaps holding hands, and even that is pushing boundaries. "May I?" he asks, extending his hand. You place your gloved hand in his, feeling the warmth of his skin through the thin fabric. Such a simple touch, yet in your heavily chaperoned world, it feels shockingly intimate. Thomas reaches into his waistcoat pocket and produces a small velvet box. He opens it to reveal a ring, a deep blue sapphire surrounded by small diamonds set in gold. "It was my grandmother's," he says quietly. The ring is elegant, not ostentatious, but clearly valuable. He slips it onto your finger, and the weight of it feels strange, but not unwelcome. This visible symbol of your engagement will announce your new status to society before you speak a word. The moment is interrupted by the sound of footsteps. Your parents, having given you as much privacy as Victorian propriety allows, return to the drawing room. Thomas immediately steps back to a respectable distance, though his eyes remain on you. "Well?" your father asks, looking between you. "Miss Wilson has done me the great honour of accepting my proposal, sir," Thomas says formally. Your mother's face lights up with genuine pleasure. "How wonderful! We must have champagne to celebrate." The butler is champagne is poured, and toasts are made to the happy couple. Through it all, you remain in a daze. The speed of Victorian courtship is disorienting. Just weeks ago, Thomas was merely an acquaintance. Now he is your fiancé, your future husband. Plans are made, dates discussed, futures envisioned. Your father and Thomas begin to negotiate your marriage settlement, a contract specifying what money and property you bring to the marriage and what will happen to it afterward. Your mother and Mrs. Fairchild confer about the wedding breakfast and the trousseau. Through it all, you catch Thomas watching you with an expression of wonder, as if he cannot quite believe his good fortune. When he finally leaves, he bows over your hand, holding it perhaps a moment longer than strictly proper. "Until tomorrow, Jane," he says softly. "Until tomorrow, Thomas," you reply, savouring the newness of his given name on your lips. The weeks that follow are a whirlwind of preparations and anticipation, each day marked by the steady rhythm of Victorian propriety. Your engagement is announced in the newspapers, and congratulatory calls and cards pour in from friends and acquaintances. The drawing room is filled with flowers and well wishes, your mother and Mrs. Fairchild meeting frequently to plan the wedding breakfast and coordinate the endless details that accompany a society marriage. Your days are consumed by fittings for your trousseau, the extensive wardrobe a bride brings to her new home. Morning dresses, afternoon dresses, evening gowns, walking outfits, riding habits, nightgowns, dressing gowns, undergarments, gloves, bonnets, shoes, shawls. Every item is chosen with care, each one a symbol of your new status. The dressmaker visits almost daily, her arms full of silks and lace, her tape measure trailing behind her like a ribbon of anticipation. You stand for hours as hems are pinned and bodices adjusted, your mother offering gentle advice, her eyes shining with pride. Even your wedding dress is a matter of careful planning. Pure white, as Queen Victoria made fashionable yards of silk and lace. A train long enough to impress but not so ostentatious as to invite gossip. A veil of delicate Brussels lace, white satin slippers, every detail perfect. Your hope chest fills with linens, bed sheets, tablecloths, napkins, handkerchiefs, many of them embroidered by your own hand over the years, preparing for this moment even before you knew who your husband would be. Despite the flurry of activity, you and Thomas are rarely alone. Victorian propriety means that even engaged couples are chaperoned at all times. You take walks in the park with your mother following discreetly behind, attend dinner parties and balls together, but always in public view. The only private communication allowed is through letters, exchanged with care and restraint. In these letters, you discover a depth to Thomas that his public persona barely hints at. He writes of his hopes for your future together, his admiration for your mind, his desire to be a husband worthy of you. Nothing improper, nothing that could not be read aloud in company, but sincere and increasingly affectionate. 2 weeks before the wedding, the Fairchilds host a dinner party for both families. It is a chance for extended relatives to meet before the ceremony, to assess one another and offer their approval. The evening is a success, both families well-mannered, prosperous, and respectable. Your cousin Emily seems taken with Thomas's cousin William, and you share a quiet smile with Thomas at the possibility of another match in the making. The final week before the wedding is a blur of last-minute arrangements. Your wedding gifts are displayed in the drawing room: silver services, crystal decanters, fine china, ornate clocks, and vases. Guests come to admire them and offer their congratulations yet again. Through it all you maintain your composure, your excitement hidden beneath layers of restraint. The rules remain, even now, guiding every moment, every word, every glance. And yet, beneath the surface, hope and happiness bloom, promising a future shaped by both tradition and affection. Your wedding day dawns clear and bright, the sunlight streaming through your bedroom window as Mary enters quietly, her eyes shining with emotion. She helps you dress with the utmost care, beginning with the finest undergarments from your trousseau, then the beautiful white gown with its fitted bodice and full skirt. The delicate veil is arranged over your carefully styled hair, and white satin slippers are slipped onto your feet. You catch your reflection in the mirror, a vision transformed, no longer Miss Jane Wilson, but soon to be Mrs. Thomas Fairchild. The house is filled with a gentle bustle, servants moving quietly, your mother overseeing every detail with practised calm. Your father, resplendent in formal morning clothes, offers his arm to escort you to the carriage. The ride to St. George's Church, Hanover Square, passes in a blur of anticipation and nerves. The city outside seems distant, muffled by the weight of the day's significance. The church is adorned with flowers, the air fragrant and soft. Guests stand as you enter, their faces a sea of familiar smiles and approving nods. At the altar, Thomas waits, his expression open and full of admiration. For a moment, you falter, overwhelmed by the sincerity in his gaze, but your father's steady arm guides you forward. The ceremony is traditional and dignified, every word and gesture steeped in meaning. You speak your vows in a clear voice, promising to love, honour, and obey. Thomas slips a gold band onto your finger, joining your engagement ring, a visible symbol of your new life. The vicar pronounces you man and wife, and Thomas is permitted to raise your veil and kiss you chastely on the cheek. It is the first time his lips have touched your skin, a moment both thrilling and restrained. After the ceremony, you greet guests in the churchyard, accepting congratulations with measured grace. The wedding breakfast that follows is elegant but not ostentatious, your parents having spent generously but with careful restraint. Champagne flows, delicate foods are served, and you sit beside Thomas at the head table, still somewhat dazed by the morning's events. "Are you happy, Jane?" Thomas asks quietly during a moment when others are distracted by the cake being cut. "Very happy," you assure him, and it is true. Despite the whirlwind nature of Victorian courtship, despite the rigid social rules that have shaped every moment of your relationship, you have come to care deeply for this man, perhaps even to love him, though Victorian propriety means you have never used that word aloud. After the breakfast, you change from your wedding gown into a smart travelling outfit. You and Thomas will spend 2 weeks at his family's country estate in Kent, a modest honeymoon by modern standards, but typical for the time. The goodbyes are emotional but restrained. Your mother hugs you briefly, your father shakes Thomas's hand and kisses your cheek, and then you are in the carriage, husband and wife, alone together for the first time. Thomas takes your hand, his thumb gently caressing your palm. "Well, Mrs. Fairchild," he says, his voice warm with affection, "shall we begin our adventure?" You smile, a genuine smile without the restraint Victorian society usually demands. "Yes," you say simply, and together you set out toward your new life. The carriage rolls steadily through the bustling London streets, the city fading behind you as you and Thomas begin your journey toward Kent. The air inside is warm, filled with the soft rustle of silk and the gentle creak of wheels over cobblestones. For the first time, you are truly alone with your husband, the boundaries of chaperoned courtship finally lifted. Thomas's fingers intertwine with yours, his touch both reassuring and thrilling, a quiet promise of partnership and affection. Outside, the city gives way to the gentle countryside, the rolling hills of Kent bathed in golden afternoon light. The hedgerows cast long shadows across the fields, and the air is sweet with the scent of spring flowers. Thomas points out sights along the way, his voice animated in a way you have rarely heard in public. You respond with observations of your own, delighting in this new freedom to converse openly, without the watchful eyes of family or society. As dusk falls, the carriage turns onto a tree-lined drive, the Fairchild country house coming into view, a handsome red brick home with white-trimmed windows, lights glowing welcomingly in the gathering twilight. Servants stand ready at the entrance, their faces bright with anticipation as they greet the new master and mistress. Thomas squeezes your hand gently, his eyes meeting yours with warmth and promise. "Welcome home, Jane," he says, and you feel a sense of rightness settle over you, a quiet certainty that this is where you belong. Inside, the house is filled with the comforting sounds of domestic life, the crackle of the fire in the grate, the soft murmur of voices, the clink of china as tea is served. You explore your new surroundings together, Thomas showing you the rooms that will be yours, the gardens that stretch beyond the windows, the quiet corners where you might read or reflect. The world outside seems distant, its rigid rules softened by the intimacy of shared space and mutual respect. That evening you dine together in the candlelit dining room, the conversation easy and unhurried. Thomas asks your opinion on household matters, listens to your thoughts on art and music, and shares his hopes for the future. You're struck by the difference between this private man and the reserved gentleman you knew in London. Here, he is open, attentive, eager to build a life with you as his equal. As night falls, you retire to your suite of rooms, Mary now replaced by a new lady's maid, her presence a gentle reminder of the changes in your life. You prepare for bed, the rituals familiar but tinged with new significance. Thomas joins you, his presence comforting, his affection clear in every word and gesture. The constraints of Victorian society remain, but within these walls you sense the possibility of true partnership, a marriage built not only on duty and reputation, but on genuine affection and respect. Outside, the stars appear one by one in the deepening blue of the sky, the countryside quiet and peaceful. You close your eyes, letting the echoes of London fade into dreams, and drift into sleep beside the man who is now your husband, ready to face the future together, whatever it may bring. The days at the Fairchild estate unfold in gentle succession, each one marked by a new rhythm and a growing sense of belonging. The countryside is a world apart from London, quiet, green, and expansive, the air fresh and tinged with the scent of wildflowers. You wake each morning to the soft light filtering through lace curtains, the distant sound of bird song, and the comforting presence of Thomas beside you. The rituals of your new life begin to take shape, blending the familiar with the unknown. Your mornings are spent exploring the gardens, walking arm in arm with Thomas along gravel paths bordered by blooming roses and ancient oaks. He points out the names of plants, shares stories of his childhood, and listens with genuine interest as you describe your own. The estate's staff greet you with respectful warmth, eager to please their new mistress. You find satisfaction in the small responsibilities that now fall to you. Choosing menus, arranging flowers for the drawing room, writing letters to family and friends announcing your safe arrival and happiness. Afternoons bring new freedoms. You ride together across the fields, Thomas teaching you to handle the spirited bay mare he has chosen for you. The wind tugs at your bonnet, laughter spills easily between you, and for the first time you feel the boundaries of Victorian restraint loosen. There are no chaperones here, no watchful eyes to judge every word or gesture. You and Thomas speak openly, sharing hopes and plans for the future, discussing books, music, and the possibility of hosting gatherings at the estate. Evenings are quiet and intimate. You dine together in the candlelit dining room, the conversation easy and unhurried. Sometimes Thomas reads aloud from the latest novel, his voice steady and warm, while you work at your embroidery or simply listen, content in the peace of shared company. The world outside seems distant, its rigid expectations softened by the comfort of home and the promise of partnership. On Sundays you attend the small village church, your presence noted by the local families. The vicar welcomes you warmly, and you find yourself drawn into the gentle rhythms of country life. Charity visits, tea with neighbours, plans for improvements to the school and almshouse. Your role as mistress of the estate grows clearer, your confidence building with each passing day. As the weeks slip by, you realise how much has changed. The anxious girl who once measured every word and gesture against the rules of Victorian society has become a woman secure in her place, cherished by her husband and respected by those around her. The love between you and Thomas deepens, quiet but steadfast, woven into the fabric of daily life. One evening, as you walk together beneath the stars, Thomas pauses and takes your hand. "Are you happy here, Jane?" he asks, his voice gentle. You look up at him, the countryside stretching out in peaceful silence, and answer with certainty, "Yes, Thomas, I am truly happy." In that moment you know that your new life, shaped by tradition but filled with hope and affection, is only just beginning.